Hi guys, Mark here with Walter's World, and today we're going to talk about our buying centers in the B2B markets. Basically all the people or types of people that are involved in purchases in a B2B buying situation. Now what you need to realize is there's a lot of people that get involved in a B2B buying situation because there's a lot more, parts of a business involved. Like if in a B2C buying situation, business to consumer, if I'm hungry, I can just go buy a sandwich. I don't need to talk to 20 different people. In the B2B side, since you have, your procurement people and your operations people and your IT people, there's all kinds of more people that get involved in terms of the buying process. Now, it doesn't mean that there's 50,000 people involved, but maybe there is. It doesn't mean there's just one person involved, but it could just be one person. If you're a small business, you may make all the decisions yourself. But there's a wide range of the people that are there, and there's different kind of titles to these people, and that's what we're going to go through today, okay? Now, the first and kind of most important person in the buying process is the actual user. This is the person that's actually going to use the product. If we're buying a computer system, for a university, I use the computers there because I do my presentations there. My students, they use the computers there to do their presentations. So we're all users of it, so the needs that we have should be reflected in the final product that's out there. However, it's not always the user that gets to do the purchasing. They may be able to tell people stuff, what they need, or these kind of things, but there's more people involved than just the end user. That's why when you look at some products, you're like, wait, what? Did you not even try this out? This doesn't even help me with this. Okay, so you want to make sure that you do have users having some influence in them. Okay, basically getting their ideas out there, which goes into what are called influencers. Okay, influencers are people that will, maybe they don't make the purchase, but they can have opinions out there and influence the buying process. So if we look at here, I'll use an example of my little son and breakfast.
So we have Liam here, and he would be an influencer. Basically, he doesn't have anything to do in terms of actual buying the product or deciding what we go buy at the supermarket, but his opinions can influence it. For example, I know he likes scrambled eggs and cheese, so when I go and purchase things, I'm going to make sure it fits in with what he wants, because he also is a user of the food that we have. But so you can see how it can be two things. He uses because he eats the food, but he's an influencer because what he likes and doesn't like actually goes in there. And that's what commercials try to do. They try to influence you in the buying process so that you think, oh yes, I do need to get these things. Okay? Now, if you're in the computer company, or let's say your company's trying to buy new computers, well, then for them, that might be the IT specialist giving them recommendations. They're not making the decisions, they're just giving you some ideas. So that's one, the influencer. So we have Liam, the influencer, right here.
So we saw with Liam, he doesn't make the purchase, but he is a user, and his ideas will influence us, because if I know that he doesn't like, eggs, I won't buy eggs. But if I know he does like eggs, then probably when I go out and buy stuff, I will buy that, because he is influencing it. Okay, because the users can be an influencer, okay, or there could be people from outside. And if you're a company that sells things, that's what advertising's for. You're looking to influence people, okay? And if you want to be an influencer, that's why you have your commercials. That's why you send your salespeople out there, because they do come into play in the B2B buying process. The third person I want to talk about is the initiator, okay? This is the person that sees, hey, wait, there's a problem out here. We need to do something. So I take my son Caleb.
Dad, I'm hungry.
Exactly. So he notices that he's hungry. There's a problem. We need to feed him. We need to feed stuff. And that's what initiators do. They notice the problem and say we need to get some stuff. And sometimes they can be an initiator and go out and try to find things.
So he's hungry. That's an initiator. No, hey, we have a problem here. I need food. Or the company needs food. We need to go out and get some, okay? Now the initiator could be a user saying, hey, our system isn't working right. Or it could be an executive that says, hey, you know what? I've seen these iPhones and they're working a lot better than the Blackberries. Why don't we switch to those, or at least see what we can do? Okay, that's what an initiator does. They're the first one that sets off the spark. Okay? The next person you have is what's called a gatekeeper. Basically, if you've ever run a small business and you try to get in contact with a big boss at a big company, usually you run into some kind of barriers, like a secretary that won't, let you get a meeting with them, or there's no email for the sent to the straight boss. You have to go through a centralized email service. Those are called gatekeepers. they can keep in, or they can let in or keep out information and people into the process. Okay, so these can be, you can have the greatest product ever, but if you can't get to the decision makers, to the people out there, it doesn't matter. Okay, so the gatekeeper is very important. Then you have the decider. They're the people that actually say yes or no. Because the users can have their ideas and the influencers can influence and the initiator can say let's do this, but there's still the person that has to write the check that says yes, we will pay for that. That is the decider. And sometimes it's based on economic issues. There's all kinds of things out there to decide it, but that decider, they're the final yes or no. All these people are important. And then the last one on there is the actual person that actually goes and buys the product. Because sometimes in a small business, yes, you may be the initiator and the decision maker and the actual buyer. But sometimes there's different people all the time. A buyer basically is the one that goes out and hands the check over, hands the money over, and takes the product. They're the actual buyer. They might not make the decision. You're just the one that goes and picks it up. You're the one that goes and pays it. Okay, so those are your overall. That's your overall buying center, and all these people have influence in the buying process, and you need to know who all these people are in your business, because it may be one person that has all 6 roles, or it could be 50,000 people have these roles. Okay, so you need to look at that in the B2B market. So I hope that helps. Just remember, okay, first off, you have the initiator who sees there's a problem. Second, you have the user who actually has to use the product. There's the influencer, maybe your advertisers or your salespeople or people within the company that influence the buying decision. 4, you have the gatekeeper who may let your information get in or not let it get it in. 5, you have the decider, the person who says yes or no, we're going to buy this. And then 6, you have the actual person that actually goes and buys the product. So those are all the main kind of titles people have, the main things people do in the buying process. Okay, or sorry, I should say in the B2B, buying center. These are all their, titles and things. And so I hope that helps you get a rough idea of all the people that are involved in a B2B process, so you understand why it can take a long time to get a decision made in a B2B setting, because there's so many different levels to go through. And if you're dealing with, multiple levels of bureaucracy, take all of the 6 of these roles and multiply it by 10, and you see why sometimes it takes time for, big companies or governments to get things done, because there's so many levels to go through in the buying process, okay, and with those buying centers. So I hope that helps you get a rough idea. If you have more questions on B2B marketing or sales or business or other things, please check us out on our website at www.waltersworld.com. Bye.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Can you say bye-bye to the camera? Bye-bye.